Shalom, everyone. How you doing? Fine, right here, of course. The topic that I want to discuss today is the Messiah and historical records and documents. Yes, people outside the Bible wrote about him, and it's historically preserved in documents, books, documents, codexes. You know, and I just want to share some of these with you. That he is, in fact, a historical figure, not just the Messiah, the Savior, Son of Yahweh. He is a historical figure, and I want to read some of this to you, the books and everything. The first one would be from excuse me, Tacticus. His annals says here, Nero fastened the guilt on the class hated for their abominations called the Christians by the populace called Christius, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius the emperor at the hands of Pontius Pilate, and the most mischievous superstition thus checked for the moment again broke out not only in Judea, the first source of the evil. So Tactius is wrote about this, and he's not the only one. It's recorded this. He lived around, in the road, around that area, and he knew he's a historian. Now, next one we'll go to is Pliny and his daily lives of Christians in ancient Rome. Now I'm going to quote him too, just like the other one. They were in the habit of meeting on certain fixed days before it was light. Then they sang in alternate versions a hymn to Messiah, and bound themselves by the solemn oath not to do any wicked deeds, but never to commit any fraud, theft, or adultery, never to falsify their word or deny a trust when they should be called upon to deliver it up. After which it was their custom to separate and then reassemble to partake the food, but food of an ordinary and innocent kind. So so it shows what these in this era, what these early Christians were doing. Seems like they were, obeying the Ten Commandments. That's what they're doing when you read through here. We're going to go to a famous Jewish historian. It's Josephus in his Antiquities book. Now this is 18 verse 63 to 64. He notes, about this time there lived Yeshua, a wise man, if indeed one might want to call him a man, for he wrought surprising feats. He was the Messiah. When Pilate condemned him to be crucified, those who had come to love him did not give up their affection for him. On the third day he appeared, restored to life, and the tribe of Christians has not disappeared. So Josephus, he's probably the most famous historian. He lived, a few decades as an adult, a few decades after, the Messiah was crucified and died and rose again. But he was in the time of some of the apostles and then the early disciples. Now we're going to go to the Babylonian Talmud, the Jewish book of faith, Sanhedrin 43a. On the eve of Passover, Yeshua was hanged. For 40 days before the execution took place, a herald cried, "He is going forth to be stoned because he hath practiced sorcery and enticed Israel to apostatize." So out of anybody, we have the atheists here that say, Yeshua don't exist. He never did. He ain't a historical figure, ain't nothing. If anybody would deny that he existed, it should have been the Jewish people, because they, not all of them, but the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, and all them, and whatever cohorts, the Herodians, they they could have, said that he didn't exist, but instead they blasted him, said he was a sorcerer, and he did all these tricks. So even they're admitting in the historical book that Yeshua was a historical figure. Now, let's go to Lucian and the death of, if I get this right, Pregarine says, the Christians working a man to this day, the distinguished personage who introduced their novel rites and was crucified on that account. It was impressed on them that their original lawgiver, that they are all brothers from that moment that they are converted, and deny the gods of Greece and worship the crucified sage and live after his laws. So these early Christians, like according to Lucian, these early Christians, they didn't worship false idols and false, what do they call dummy gods, demigods, whatever. But yeah, it's the early Christians. Now we'll go to the last one. Is Julian the apostate, quoted in the book of Cyril of Alexander against Julian. It says here, but Yeshua, having persuaded a few among you, and those the worst of men, has now been celebrated about 300 years, having done nothing worthy of remembrance, unless anyone thinks it is a mighty matter to heal lame and blind people and exorcise demonics in the villages of Bethsaida and Bethany. So that was a couple centuries later that he wrote that. But he got, a lot of these guys that lived, like just say 100 years and a couple hundred years after, they got their sources from others too. I mean, but the ones that live close, and there's historical, somebody that heals and cast out demons and everything is going to be remembered for a long time in an area, and it's going to grow out, just like when Yeshua was walking the earth and word got out about his miracle healings and stuff like that, and people flocked to him to be healed and hear the message and things like that. But he is a historical figure, and those are the top ones that I found when I was doing my research. I'm sure there's more, and there's other documents out there buried out in the sands that probably will bring more light, more evidence to it. But he is a historical figure, and when you tell atheists, they just stick their fingers in their ears and start going la 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 la. They don't want to hear it. I mean, if the evidence is there, they try to shuffle it under the rug. They try to hide it. They don't want to hear nothing. But the first time they hear something, negative or something, they jump right on it. Because they got their faith and we've got our faith. And their faith is lawlessness and atheism, stuff like that. But that's that's in another segment, of course. But anyways, that's all I wanted to share with you because I thought it was important, and I think you should. And any of the authors, if you don't have the book, Josephus or Lucian, you get them on eBay, Amazon, whatever, and study them, look them up. Yeah, he's a historical figure, and that's pretty impressive. But anyways, I just wanted to also humbly ask you to like my video, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and just do the comments, have a nice little discussion like I always say in my other videos. So that said, I'm out. So shalom.